If you're watching this video, you may have heard about Ozempic, which is why you're here. And we're going to just briefly cover what the science actually says about Ozempic. Now, if you're familiar with some social media health trends, there's a bunch of people that apparently on TikTok are talking about Ozempic. And the basic science behind this is you take anywhere between a half cup or a cup of, raw uncooked oats, put them in a blender with some water and some lemon or lime or whatever to kind of flavor it a bit, drink that, and you should have these increases in GLP-1 to have an Ozempic-like effect and make you not hungry. So what does the science actually say on this? Well, first of all, there's no human clinical trials that I'm aware of showing that when human beings consume this Oat-Zempic, let's call it a smoothie, actually have any kind of increased GLP-1 or decrease in hunger, increase in satiety, or it affects appetite. But there are a bunch of papers on oats, so let's take a look. Well, it turns out that in terms of the digestion resistant starch content of uncooked rolled oats, it is amongst some of the highest amounts of digestion resistant starch that you can get compared to a whole bunch of different foods. So that's a big plus. It's in there. Secondly, there's a number of papers like this one here, the impacts of oats on appetite, hormones, and body weight management, a review. And they say that oats are rich in this thing called beta glucan, which basically has this viscosity and it absorbs some water and it slows down its sort of flow through your digestive tract and slows down its absorption and does indeed, in addition to other things about beta glucan, it helps with appetite and satiety. It says here that oats are rich in beta glucan, which can increase feelings of fullness and satiety. The high viscosity of beta glucan slows down digestion and the absorption of nutrients, leading to prolonged satiety and reduced appetite. Beta glucan itself, according to research, has been shown to potentially stimulate GLP-1 production. So far, so good. This goes on to say that oats have been shown to be effective in weight management, largely due to their high fiber content, which promotes satiety and reduces overall calorie intake. So then the question becomes is oats are great, clearly, but do they compare to the effects of Ozempic? And I'm going to say probably not for this simple reason here. When your body makes its own GLP-1, so for example, when you eat oats, your GLP-1 probably does go up a little bit. Now, there's some variability depending on the person, but it probably does go up. And that's one of the things that is like Ozempic. Now, the half-life of your body's own GLP-1 is only a few minutes. That means is, let's say you drink your oat smoothie and your GLP-1 goes up 100 units. Well, in a few minutes, it's already down to 50. A couple minutes later, that's down to 25. A couple minutes later, then it's now down to 12.5 and it's gone. So the effects of something like this are relatively short-lived compared to the effects of something like semaglutide or Ozempic, where the half-life is, get this, a week. That means if you inject yourself with that same 100 units of GLP-1, a week later, it's still 50 compared to a few minutes later with your own production of it. It only took a few minutes to get down to 50. So there's really no comparison. You'd have to literally try to eat oats all day long to try to get the same amount of GLP-1, and it probably wouldn't work. You'd also be eating loads of calories. So the question then is, oats are great, but will Oat-Zempic help you lose weight? Now, here's this study, and I'll just basically boil this down to you. Basically, they had people in two groups. There was a group that both groups ate 1,500 calories a day. One group front loaded their calories, ate a huge breakfast, moderate lunch, and then a small dinner. The other group did the opposite. They had a small breakfast, a moderate lunch, and then a huge dinner. And I want to show you that these two groups, same number of calories, 1,500 calories a day, which for most people would probably lose a little bit of weight, but they just ate them at different periods of time throughout the day. And so I want you to take a look at this graph here, because here the big diet in pink was a 700 calorie breakfast, a 600 calorie lunch, and a 200 calorie dinner. The big dinner was a 200 calorie breakfast, a 600 calorie lunch, and a 700 calorie dinner. Now take a look at this graph here. This in the blue squares on the left-hand side is the weight lost in the big dinner group. And then the pink squares is the weight loss over 12 weeks, 3 months in the big breakfast group. Now, first of all, you can see that the big breakfast group lost more weight at any point throughout this whole 12 weeks. The other thing is that the big diet group did lose a little bit of weight, not as much, but then it plateaued and it actually started to go back up. And I'm not going to talk about this postprandial glycemia, but basically people that ate more food later in the day in a smaller breakfast had worse glucose issues after meals and just even total throughout the day. So the big diet group lost 2.5 times more weight than the big dinner group, had a lower overall postprandial after eating glucose level, let's just say, and they had higher and faster GLP-1, it turns out, by the way, responses after all 3 meals, which is kind of what people are after. Now, here's my question. How many calories are in that oat smoothie that people are drinking for breakfast and hoping that it's going to increase their satiety, decrease their hunger, and maybe make them eat less. And are they eating more at night? So it's probably only a couple hundred calories in that oat smoothie, which makes it more like the big dinner group. And you can see the effects of that. So instead of that, I would say eat your oats, drink your smoothie, but also eat a whole bunch of other food with it, some good old eggs and sausages or whatever. Eat more for breakfast. Anyhow, so instead of following influence, follow the evidence. And if you want to know more about us, you can take a look at what we're doing regarding Ozempic, GLP-1 agonists, or any hot new trends or topics in the functional and nutritional medicine industry, and bringing you the science and evidence on them. We hope to see you there. Thanks so much.